Good morning and welcome to our Teen Sunday School class. Good. No? I'm listening to my voice as I'm talking. And so it sounds good. It's sweet.
You're telling me.
Yeah. Hope y'all had a great week.
We all lost our voices.
Yeah.
Really lost our voices last week at youth camp. We had a wonderful time.
Lots of singing.
And praying and shouting and all kinds of different things.
And screaming for the team.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
So lots of vocal stress.
So, yes, very much so.
But
so
Lord
if
willing,
I
we make it all the way through this Sunday school lesson.
If I squeal, I'm sorry.
She apologizes
yes,
in advance for her screeching.
Yes, very much so. Or if for some reason I hit a low note or something, it is what
there
it
may
is.
be laughter involved.
Yes.
So.
Okay,
Brace
so,
yourself.
I
yes.
should have screamed for the team for my graduating. I must have just sang really loudly, which no one will ever see.
Moving on. Anyway. Maybe.
Okay, so we are back in the Old Testament. I know last Sunday we talked about Elisha. I always have to say that because sometimes I'll just automatically just come out as Elijah.
Yeah.
We talked about Elijah last Sunday, and so we're going to go ahead and talk about some of Elisha's miracles also. Because if you remember, Elisha asked for a double portion of what Elijah had. So that means he did 2 times as much miracles as
Posthumously.
yeah.
Where's the accent on that? Posthumously? Posthumously? Posthumously?
I don't know.
I'm putting way too much thought into this. Even after he died.
Yes. Even after he died, there was a miracle.
Yes.
So we're going to go ahead and turn to 2 Kings. And
Second Kings.
chapter 2. And before the miracle, you see that Elijah is telling Elisha that he's about to be taken away from him. And as Elijah is taken away, Elijah's mantle falls down, from heaven, and Elisha takes it, and then that takes us to, let's start in verse 13, I mean.
Alright. He took up also the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. And he took the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and smote the waters, and said, Where is the Lord God of Elijah? And when he also had smitten the waters, they parted hither and thither, and Elisha went over. And when the sons of the prophets which were with you at Jericho saw him, they said, The spirit of Elijah doth rest on Elisha. And they came to meet him, and bowed themselves unto the ground before him. And they said unto him, Behold now, there be with thy servants 50 strong men. Let them go, we pray thee, and seek thy master, lest peradventure the Spirit of the Lord hath taken him up, and cast him upon some mountain, or into some valley. And he said, We shall not send. And when they urged him, for he was ashamed, he said, Send. They sent therefore 50 men, and they sought 3 days, but they found him not. And when they came again to him, for he tarried at Jericho, he said unto them, Did I not say unto you, Go not?
Okay, so the first miracle that Elisha did was he took the mantle and he parted Jordan. Well, the bank of Jordan was parted. And so that was just one of his first ones, really.
Yeah.
And it was almost like a testing miracle. That's what that one was. It was more like a testing miracle because he was like, when he did it, he said, Where's the Lord God of Elijah? Like, all right, now I've seen Elijah do some miracles and stuff like that. Now I know I've also asked for a double portion of what Elijah did.
And I did what Elijah told me
And I
to
did
do,
what Elijah told me to do if I wanted this portion. And then he just took Elijah's hope and
Yeah, well, and he knew what he had seen, and so when he had a deal that Elijah said and was from God, and Elisha wasn't, unconvinced that, see him. You know, maybe
Yes.
I looked away for just a long second, but he knew he had seen him. So all that, you know, he was looking for God to put it forward his end of the deal. You know, where's God? Is he going to do this? And
Right. So that was one of his first ones. And then if you go to 19, I don't want to say 16, 19. You go to, it's in the same chapter. 19 is going to tell you of another one. I noticed that a lot, well, not a lot, in different chapters, there's like 2 or 3 miracles in that same chapter.
Yeah.
And so in in verse 19, you want to read that, Bill?
Which chapter?
2:19.
And the men of the city said unto Elisha, Behold, I pray thee, the situation of the city is pleasant, as my Lord seeth, but the water is not in the ground therein. And he said, Bring where any cruse, and put salt therein. And he brought it to him. He went forth unto the spring of the waters, and cast the salt in there. And said, This saith the Lord, I heal these waters, there shall not be from thence any more death or marriage. So the waters were healed unto this day, according to the saying of Elisha when she spake. Actually, the next part too.
What do you put this down? Where's the string key? Hey. Okay. Something's wrong with the lighting for the camera.
It looks fine.
Well, it was going back and forth earlier.
Because I haven't been doing that.
Yeah,
We
probably.
did a lot like last time.
Okay. Well, it's fine now.
I've been
Yeah,
checking
okay.
this to see it could be art,
Okay.
but I don't know.
Okay. Okay, so
Something just came in and said, "What's
and so this other miracle is him healing the water that was, it said it was barren
Yes.
and the ground barren.
the water is not in the ground there.
Yes.
So bad water, dry ground. Salt.
And he said he went forth into the spring of waters and cast the salt in there and said, Thus saith the Lord, I have healed these waters, there shall not be from thence any more death or barren land. So he took salt and put it in the water, cast it in the water, and the water was healed. Like they could drink the water, they can cook
Pretty miraculous.
in the water.
Can I read the next story?
Can I read the next story? I want to read the next story. And he went up from thence unto Bethel, and as if he was going on by the
Oh, I
way,
know
She
why.
looked
there
at
came
me.
forth little children out of the city and mocked him and said unto him, Go up, thou bald head! Go up, thou bald head! And he turned back and looked on them and cursed them in the name of the Lord. And there came forth 2 she-bears out of the wood, and tare 40 and 2 children.
This is why I want to read the story that was so uncomfortable. Also, after that verse, I have not
Okay,
made
but-
fun of Dad once. Everybody else does. I do not. 40 and 2 children. Because listen,
Look
little
at the size
kids,
of 40 and
little
2
kids are
children,
mean. You know, they say
Why do they
Yeah.
really rude
consider
things.
that a miracle though?
Sheepers aren't going to come out for nothing.
I mean, I know it. The 2 she-bears came out of the wood. Why do
I've
they
always
say like
felt
that?
I've always felt torn about this because I don't know, children death
Yeah.
didn't really ever
Fun of
sound.
his bald head. That's a touchy subject.
Oh, that's
Plus, he
that's
wasn't
a
that
criminal
old.
offense.
Well, he wasn't that old. Like, you know, he was still pretty young.
So they made fun of the prematurely bald prophet and
Yeah.
got
But
murdered.
children though,
Well,
how,
but he's
what
the prophet of the Lord, and he knows.
we know what the age of children are, but what were the age of those
It
children?
said little
Or
children.
no, it just said
It did say little children.
in our oh, it did.
How many children were there also? How many children thought this guy's bald head? Did no one have a bald head?
Everybody
How
makes
many?
mistakes.
Like, was there like 100 of them?
But my thing
And
is
then the
too,
shearers got
were
42
the
of them as
parents.
they're running away.
Exactly.
What were their parents when they were mocking the
Well,
prophet?
I think at that time they were
Wouldn't
just
you
kinda-
like, when your boy, where are your parents?
Well, but like, I think they, like, you know, because like, I think at that time the children were just like running around in the streets.
That's probably what it was.
That's
They would just
true.
follow the
But
prophet.
didn't
Hey,
they-
look, it's the prophet. Then somebody
Yeah,
was
but
like,
didn't they?
I don't think children's parents recognize domestic danger. But But
Jesus is a prophet
But,
of God.
but my thing is, yeah, they thought. That's the thing, is they thought. Which
I can't
Sure, it's
imagine that was well
unbelievably
received by people though. Like, oh well, our kids made fun of a young bald man.
It could have been one
And
person
died.
too. It didn't have to be
All
all
of them.
42 of those people either. Which is another thing, like
But
where
there's
God is
even-
unbelievably harsh to
But
somebody.
we know that if
person does
one
something.
kid's making fun of someone, then other kids are going to join in because it seems acceptable.
But you
No,
have to
but
realize
think
too,
of, like,
they're
what's
bears.
the
They
guy's-
don't. They can't control how
Right. Because Elisha didn't say, "Bears, come kill
Oh,
them."
it's just
He
the
just
word.
cursed them in the name of the Lord.
they right.
Because
so,
they were hindered. Because, I mean, who knows what else they were doing along with saying, "Go up, thou bald head." Because we know there's
We only
details in
know
the Bible
that,
that
yeah.
give certain accounts.
Well, but think of whatever that guy was that hid the stuff at Jericho, and my mother's men died at Ai.
Yeah.
It's just another example of that kind of people. One person could have said
The
something
sins
like
of one,
42
then you have
people
to pay for
died.
the sins of one.
Yeah,
well, that's why we got
it's
Jesus.
harsh.
Because, I mean, they were mocking him. They
Yeah.
probably knew he was the prophet of the Lord if they were following him around.
Crazy.
I need to be careful with Brother Martini. I shouldn't have made so
I
many
think,
short jokes.
you know, wait, what if they were saying about Elijah?
What?
Like, go up, thou bald, because Elijah went up.
And he was saying
they
he
were
was
telling
going
him to
to
die.
He was going to the city.
No, I mean, like, what if they were, like, saying that he should go up too because they wanted him gone or something?
And he went
Oh.
up
They were
from
mocking him.
unto Bethel, which means going to Bethel. And as he was going up by the way, the people with little children out of the city and knocked him his head. And
Oh, okay, so he
Look
went
up
up
all that.
from
Look
there
up
to
all
the
that.
Bethel.
Yeah.
So they were saying, "Go away, Baldy," and then they died.
Okay, we
Love that.
touched on this one a little bit ago. So now we're going to go to chapter 4, 1 through 17. And this is maybe, no, this is like a whole bunch of mixed put together. I don't know why I did that.
Yeah.
Okay, so 4, the first one, it talks about the widow's oil. Now there cried a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets unto Elisha, saying, Thy servant, my husband, is dead, and thou knowest that thy servant did fear the Lord, and the creditor is come to take unto him my 2 sons to be bondmen. And Elisha said unto her, What shall I do for thee? Tell me, what hast thou in thy house? And she said, Thy handmaid hath not anything in the house save a pot of oil. Then he said, Go borrow thee vessels abroad of all thy neighbors, even empty vessels, borrow not a few. And when thou art come in, thou shalt shut the door upon thee and upon thy sons, and shalt pour out into all these vessels, and thou shalt set aside that which is full. So she went from him and shut the door upon her and upon her sons, who brought the vessels to her, and she poured out. And it came to pass, when the vessels were full, that she said unto her son, Bring me yet a vessel. And he said unto her, There is not a vessel more. And the oil stayed. Then she came and told the man of God, and he said, Go sell the oil, and pay the debt, and live thou and thy children of the rest. So a widow lady, they had to pay their debt. So she went to the prophet of Elisha and asked him to help her, and he asked what she had, and she said oil. So he said, Go borrow all the vessels from thy neighbors. So imagine being in Holland City and borrow all the vessels from the neighbors. That's a lot.
I want all of your Tupperware now.
Well, that's a lot of vessels.
the
If you think,
Tupperware
if you really
cups,
think
mugs.
about it, but I don't know how big her debt was.
I'll take an urn if you got an empty one.
Oh, no. Thanks. I don't know how big her debt was or anything like that for her to get all the neighbors. And then she did what the prophet told her to
And
do.
granted, they probably did have a lot less neighbors back then.
Maybe.
Maybe, I don't know. Depending on where they lived.
Yeah, that is true. Wherever they lived at.
But still,
Yeah, that's a
all
lot
the
of vessels. And all the vessels had oil in it. And when she had took the little pot of oil that she had and filled all those vessels, she asked her son for more, and there wasn't any. And so once they ran out of vessels, they were good. Because it said, and there's not a vessel more, and the oil stayed. So after there was no more vessels, they still had enough oil, and then she took the oil and she paid her debt. After after her husband had died, and then they lived on the rest of it.
I wonder what the selling process was then. Because If she took all the neighbors' vessels and then sold the oil, I wonder if the vessels went with the oil.
Probably.
I would be a pretty bad neighbor if a lady took all my vessels and then sold them.
But if they knew that the prophet, though, if they knew that the prophet said something, told her to do something like that, so I'm sure she didn't just go and say, "Hey, let me get your vessels."
Yeah, she probably had to have a good.
Yeah, she probably like the prophet Elisha is trying to help me out of my debt, and I need to.
Probably knew her son.
Yes.
Like, their kids are probably grown up.
And they probably knew. They probably would know how it felt if they had to go through something like that. And their two
the
sons
other thing is oil was very important at that time.
Yes,
so they probably got a lot of money, and I mean, you're not when they gave them that, they weren't expecting to have oil in there they could sell. They didn't have anything. So if you pay them back,
that's
you
true.
pay
They
them
can
for
buy
the
more
vessels and still have money left over.
Go to the market and buy their own vessels.
Because you're selling oil and the vessel isn't important, but what you're buying from your neighbors are the vessels that are definitely not important.
So the oil helped this lady pay her debt. Okay, then the Shunammite woman. Is this the one?
Well, all these stories, like Elisha, they all had some widow woman or some woman.
Well, this is not a widow.
I know, but it was always very
She
similar.
is married,
Like some woman
but
always seemed to
this is
help
the one where her son.
And something always happened with the sons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because children
Son
are seen
is
as
dead,
an either tradable or a dispensable thing.
Yeah,
by
son
some
is
people.
dead. He used to get the bondsman. It's like, my head, my head. I've done that before, though. I mean, called out, my head, my head. I was working outside or something.
Well, okay, so this is talking about.
First, she doesn't have a son.
He tells her that she's gonna have a son.
Yes.
He goes and eats bread at her house. It's really good bread, I guess.
Here, I'll just read it. And it fell on a day that Elisha passed to Shunem, where was a great
I see we
woman.
didn't have
And
a
she
son.
constrained him to eat bread. And so it was that as often as he passed by, he turned and lived and to eat bread. I wonder if Great Woman was talking about character or size. And she said unto her husband, Behold now, I perceive that this is an holy man of God which passeth by us continually. Let us make a little chamber, I pray thee, on the wall. Let us set for him there a bed, and a table, and a stool, and a candlestick. Very limited. And it shall
very detailed at the same time.
Yeah.
and it shall be when he
detail.
cometh to us that he shall turn into
Blankets and a pillow.
Okay, just skip down to where she asked for verse 14.
Said again thy servant, say now unto her, Behold, thou hast been careful for us with all this care. What is to be done to thee? Wouldst thou be spoken toward the king or to the captain of the host? And she answered, I dwell among mine own people. And he said, What is then to be done for her? And Gehazi answered, Verily she hath no child, and her husband is old. And he said, Call
What a
her.
rude thing to say. I mean, it was common sense, but Gehazi's just standing there with the corner of the servant, and he's
He's like, Hey,
just
the guy's
lounging
old.
back.
He doesn't
Yeah,
have a
he's
kid.
like,
I'm sure she wants one.
what am I gonna do? And Gehazi's like, hey, look how old her husband is. She ain't got no son. Like,
And he said, Call her. And when he called her, she stood in the door. And he said, About this season, according to the time of life, thou shalt embrace a son. And she said, Nay, my lord, thou man of God, do not lie unto thine handmaid. And the woman conceived and bare a son at that season that Elisha had said unto her, according to the time of life.
Okay, so that
Okay.
was just different. But she didn't have any kids. Her husband was getting old, and she. Okay, so it was very important.
She must want one.
Well, my thing is too is you never know what the gender of your child is until you have some type of. So, but having a son was very
Big deal.
important.
Because the son carried on the family.
Yes,
And the family name was everything.
yes, it was. And so, because he could have said you know, your daughter, but no, son.
Shunammite. And when the child was grown and fell on a day, he went out to his father to the reapers. And he said unto his father, My head, my head. And he said to Eliab, Carry him to his mother. And when he had taken him and brought him to his mother, he sat on her knees till noon and then died.
Boy,
I didn't read
That's
that part. I
so-
just thought he was sick.
That's
No, he
so
died.
I knew he died, but I
expressive.
thought it was not that soon.
Like, he sat on her knees till
Last
noon and
words.
then died.
My
He's just
head,
sitting
my
there and
head.
yeah, I'm sure he said something to his mother, but it wasn't recorded.
Yeah.
And she called unto her husband and said, Send me, and she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God and shut the door upon him and went out. I would be a little upset if she laid a dead boy on the bed that was provided
Yeah,
for
my
me.
bed.
And
My
she
bed.
called unto her husband and said, Send me, I pray thee, one of the young men and one of the asses, that I may run to the man of God and come again. And he said, Wherefore wilt thou go to him today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath. And she said, It shall be well. I love how she's just like not informing her husband that their son's dead. And he said, Wherefore wilt thou go? And she said unto Manasseh, and said to her servant, Drive and go forward. Slack not thy riding from me, except I bid thee. So she went and came unto the man of God to Mount Carmel. And it came to pass, when the man of God saw her afar off, that he said to Gehazi his servant, Behold, yonder is that Shunammite. Run now, I pray thee, to meet her.
He's upset. Oh, there's that
Run now, I pray
again.
thee, to meet her, and say unto her, Is it well with thee? Is it well with thy husband? Is it well with the child? And she answered, It is well. And when she came with the man of God to the hill, she caught him by the feet. But Gehazi came near and thrust her away with the bodyguard. And the man of God said, Let her alone, for her soul is vexed within her. The Lord hath hid it from me, and hath not told me. Then she said, Did I desire, son of my Lord? Did I not say, Do not deceive me? Then he said to Gehazi, Gird up thy loins, and take my staff in thy hand, and go thy way. If thou meet any man, salute him not. And if he any salute, he answer him not again. And lay my staff upon the face of the child. Ouch.
Well, his latest.
And the mother of the child said, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul thou heard. And thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. I have a bruise right there. And he arose and followed her. And Gehazi passed on before them, and laid the staff upon the face of the child. But there was neither voice nor hearing. Wherefore he went again to meet him, and told him, saying, The child is not awake. And when Elisha was coming to the house, behold, the child was dead, and laid upon his bed.
And what's funny is in this Bible, and is in italics.
Yes,
child was dead and laid in his bed.
And
the fact that there's a dead kid on your bed, and with your bed in your possessions is mentioned a candlestick. You don't have a lot in that house. Your bed is one of the only things you have. You have a desk, you have a table, you have a candlestick.
And a dead child.
And now you have
a bed.
Yes.
He went in therefore and shut the door upon the twin and prayed unto the Lord. And he went up and lay upon the child, and put his mouth upon his mouth, and his eyes upon his eyes, and his hands upon his hands. And he stretched himself upon the child, and the flesh of the child waxed warm. Then he returned, and walked in the house to and fro, and went up and stretched himself upon him. And the child sneezed 7 times, God's number. And the child opened his eyes. And he called Gehazi and said, Call the Shunammite. So he called her. And when she was coming unto him, he said, Take up thy son. And she went in and fell at his feet and bowed herself to the ground and took up her son and went out.
Okay, so a lot happened there. The first thing I noticed was when she said, Did I not desire the son of my Lord? Did I not say, Do not deceive me? Technically, Elisha didn't say anything about the son being alive for any period of time. He just said, You're going to have a son at this time. Yeah. That's what she did, so he didn't see her there. And poor Gehazi just sitting there thinking, oh yeah, he's going to be healed, and he puts his staff on his hand, nothing on his face, nothing. And then I find it interesting that it's so close to CPR there that, he's like stretching stuff out and mouth to mouth.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, it was very close. Although I think in that amount of time, because she had to ride to go get the man of God, she had to tell him that everything was okay, and everything wasn't okay.
It probably been like 2 days or something.
Yeah, Gehazi had to come back, then tell Elisha, hey, nothing happened. And then Elisha had to come in. I'm pretty sure there was past CPR, but still, that's very interesting that it was that close.
My thing is Gehazi, he sent Gehazi before him. But Gehazi, when he took Elisha's staff and put it on the boy, what was he thinking? Like, I know it says that what did it say? Hold on.
I wonder if he's like, I finally get to do a miracle.
Well, yeah, but how much faith did he have? Like, how much faith did he really have because when you think about it, okay, let's go to Jesus, where, when who I can't even think right now. Who came to him about their daughter?
Jairus.
Yes, Jairus. He came to Jesus. Jesus had told him to go, and by the time he got back to his daughter was alive. Well,
Gehazi laid the staff on her face, the kid was still dead.
Yes. Jairus had faith in what Jesus had told him to do. And when he did, before he could even get to his house, the servant was running saying that his daughter was alive.
The other thing is I'm wondering, because there was a level of healing that happened, you know, you can see it in like levels where he stressed himself out this number of times, and the skin wax from but the child still wasn't technically alive, then you have to do it again. I'm wondering if he was seeing what level of healing he needed to do as far as like the staff. If he would have awakened, if he would have been, I don't know. But it could, you know, it could have been something like that where the staff was more of a test to see if there was anything, like if anything would happen.
I wonder if it was like what you're saying. If it was a test to see if
why is that even there?
Staff was going to do it, or was it a test to see for Gehazi?
I think it was a test of Gehazi's faith. Because...
But he never mentioned anything to Gehazi.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But he just told Gehazi, take my staff. So when you're taking a mighty man of God's staff to a child that is dead, what?
I would expect that to be the end of it. Like, oh, okay.
Maybe
I'm
he's showing
going to perform
Gehazi that
this
the
for
power wasn't
Elijah
in the staff.
and Elisha.
Because that was a big thing in, like, you know, Paul, where
Oh,
he
yeah.
with the
People
cross.
love to use objects to just, like,
Yeah.
to justify
It's not like
miracles.
Moses-
the emperor, you can't
Moses,
use
he
the
used
staff.
his staff.
Peter's rag.
Yeah. Paul actually.
But like, what was Gehazi's? Because it was almost a little quick after Gehazi put the staff on the child. It's like, oh, yeah, he did. But
I mean, I guess he figured, well, I mean, if he's still dead, there's no harm in leaving it there a while till Elisha gets here. If Elisha
Well, he
gets
came
here.
back and said the child wasn't awakened.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah,
what
you're-
was? So it doesn't give the detail about Gehazi, but do we think that Gehazi believed that the child was going to raise from the dead because he had Elisha's staff, or you know, just I don't know the detail. I guess it's not a lot
I
of
would
detail.
love to read some of these miracles from Gehazi's point of view. Like Gehazi's diary, he's like, the crazy old man of God told me to do something else today.
Well, he's probably sitting in the
Didn't work
corner with
yet.
it, like writing down tick marks for how many times the kid sneezed. And who notices that he sneezed
1,
7 times?
2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah.
6.
Wait, does it tell us who wrote the Book of Kings?
Let's see if mine does. 'Cause mine has like.
I think it's just like random people who wrote stuff down.
Okay. What is the other
And
one?
they put all
No,
together.
nothing.
Commonly called the fourth book of the Kings. Oh, I
Because
guess.
it's Samuel.
Yeah.
So
So maybe it's not. Well, it can't be Samuel because he did.
Yeah.
75. It's alright because we got through quite a bit of them.
Yes, we did. And we got through the big ones.
Yeah.
We haven't got through naming yet.
No.
That's another big one.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Okay.
But
So, dead kids.
that was
widow
that's
women.
coming. That was coming up next. It was the first one, chapter 4. But just looking at the miracles from the Old Testament and comparing the miracles to the New Testament. Oops, sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
And then looking at the ones in the New Testament, when you compare these, some of them are similar to each other. Like there's similarities. I was trying to think of ones as I was saying that. Okay. The parting of the water.
Yeah, that's happened several times.
Several different times. And not just Elijah and Elisha, but Moses. Moses, Joshua.
I don't think there were any others.
Is there any other ones? Of the parting of the water? Moses, Joshua, Elisha,
I think that was like,
Elijah,
Yeah.
maybe. I mean, but then you go to Jesus, who he doesn't even have to part; he just
he
walks
just
on.
walked on it anyway.
He just walks
It's
on the
way
water.
better, honestly. I mean, as far as her
Yeah, I mean, if I were to have to
when you
pick
think
one,
about
I would
walking,
definitely be
walking
walking
Whoa.
through the Red Sea, it's
But-
deep, and like you would have to walk down into it while the waters are parted.
They're probably having to avoid like dead seed and stuff.
No, because remember, it was dry. The ground was dry. They walked on dry ground,
Yeah.
so it wasn't like
I
you would
really
think
want to know
you
how that works.
I-
Could you put your hand in there?
like and just walk.
Yeah, it's just like a wall
Or
of water.
like what was the
It looks like an
texture?
aquarium.
Yes.
Does it look like an aquarium and you can see like
Was
fish
it like
looking at you?
jello, or was there like a hard wall, or was it
I
just
think it
water
was-
that you
was
could
it?
stick
I think it
your
was
hand
like a waterfall, but like, you know how when you have those waterfalls that are like, if you get them right where there's just clear water, you know, there's not like a lot of
in? Like, could you
foam.
see things through it?
I
imagine-
wonder
Cause like
if
even
the
you
fish
know,
on the
when-
other
when they
side,
have
they
those,
eyes like this.
pools where they have the little
You know?
waterfalls.
I've
Right.
seen like the cartoons where they're like,
Yeah.
why are you late for work? So you're never gonna believe this. It's like
Yeah.
the fish being late for work.
Yes.
Well, like, you know what I mean? Like, it has, when you have those, like, pools that have little waterfalls, the waterfall isn't always foamy where you can't see anything, but it'll come down to just like a sheet where it's just like clear water.
Yeah, it's
That's
not
what I
like a
imagine
super
it's,
powerful
yeah,
one.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I imagine it was like, where it just had a clear water where you can see through.
But like, was it
Probably was pretty dark, I
was it
imagine.
clearly defined something, or was it just like water
I think
flowing?
with that amount of
All right, it's
people, it
time to
would
go
have had
find
to be
people.
pretty
One of the
wide.
people that was with Moses when it happened.
Yeah.
Like, Leo, get to him.
Right. Yes, please tell me the story about the Red Sea.
I would love to know.
Like,
I'm just gonna
well,
find
just,
Moses.
well, just thinking about the different miracles and stuff like that too. It's just they're just amazing.
Yeah.
But
It's
then
like wondering about the
Well, like
Samaritans, how
the
Jesus
picture,
fed
like
the
the Jordan,
5,000.
Yes.
the Jordan River.
Like, did it
people
grow
look at
back?
it like
Did it just-
extreme. I mean, that's usually what it's shown. But it probably wasn't as extreme as
No.
you mentioned. And it was a huge river in the Bible. That's all you. There were several times when the River Jordan was mentioned. And you're talking about a river. I mean, sometimes they're small, but most of the time they make them
what's the
huge.
what's the one of the biggest rivers?
Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Those kind of things. And those are
Nile.
huge.
They're not like they're
They're
huge.
miles
So
across.
imagine parting that and just walking across it.
Right. Yeah, it's still because the people of Jericho at that time were expecting them to build boats or go around something. You know,
Not in this case.
right?
That's funny because like I've wondered about the semantics of how the feeding 5,000 mark. Like, did the
which
bread?
did Elijah and Elisha? Was it the same river?
No, the current part of like what?
Was it the
Elisha,
same?
Elisha.
I really just remember that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same one.
Like, do you think that the bread? Do you think the bread grew back? Do you think
Well,
he
see,
did?
that's-
Do you think he just hung in his hand and it like never got smaller?
I don't know.
I think it's like when you tear off a piece of bread and then you have like a big piece or whatever, you tear off half, right? And as you're tearing off half, more, it's just the same amount as there, like it grows back kind of.
But
Okay,
you don't
so-
see it growing back.
for
Because
instance,
it's,
you
it's
know
like
how
the
when
bread
you
piece
It's
follows
like duplication
the bread.
casting.
well, you know how when you get a
Right.
salad, for instance, when you get a salad,
Uh-huh.
and you have sat there, ate that salad, and you look down at it, and
And
it's
it's
still,
just
it looks huge.
I think when you tear off
Like when you go to a
piece,
restaurant and they give you like your nachos.
the
Yeah.
bread
Those nachos were
follows
huge,
the
and they just
tear
kept coming.
of the piece. Like it would keep going to fill where the tear was until it gets to where you torn off the piece and it's the same amount. Like that, where you're tearing it, there's more bread coming where the tear is. So when
Either
it's
that or
when you
Jesus
look at it,
just
it doesn't
hand
look like.
pressed.
All right, tell
So
me
he
how
just-
you fed the 5,000.
He
Explain the bread
grabs
to
he
me.
grabs the bread with one hand and like it fills like both of his hands like this and he just goes and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I would have loved to see Jesus do
I
that.
know.
That would be so cool.
Yeah, it would. So,
So no, I'm gonna have to find people who were there at both of those miracles.
uh-huh.
And also,
I will agree.
what are other what's another miracle that would be cool to know? Like,
We'll find out next week.
Yeah, time.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
It stood still. Everything was just
That one I think is more believable.
Like, do you think the
you
clouds
don't notice the sun?
like that's what I'm
moving
saying.
that much.
Like look at the clouds right now, and you don't. It's like
well, it was the sun moving.
Like I can see the clouds moving now, right? Then I'm like when I'm staring at it.
Yes.
Right, at them.
but
Like,
when
did the clouds
when
move?
the-
Did time stop? Did wind stop? Did
where the
I don't think
was
so. The time stopping was just the time of day, which means the sun stopping.
were there still bugs flying?
so
or
it
they
was
just
still
sending
okay.
them in the
So at about what time does it get dark?
I'm
now?
not sure, by the way, how
Oh,
that
now
miracle
it's like-
happened. I have no idea how.
Yeah,
You know what I
okay.
mean? Like
No,
you can
I
have an
understand
idea
that,
of how
yeah,
it works,
yeah.
but the semantics of getting the sun, either the sun to stop moving, or the earth to stop moving around the sun, or the earth to stop rotating, all would have torn the earth to pieces for that amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what makes
That's
it
why
a
it's
miracle.
a-
Was
that's
it
why
a
it's a
visual?
miracle.
Was it a visual effect that happened,
Or was it something that actually like
or was it something that actually
astronomically happened
Yeah.
and wreaked havoc on the tide?
Okay, so this is not
That would
technically
cause
a
tsunamis.
miracle, but to me it is when Elijah asked for the servant's eyes to be opened Was that Elijah or Elisha?
Which servant?
See, that's what I'm trying to remember. When his eyes were open, he said, "They that are with us are greater than they that are against us."
Oh, yeah, that was Elisha.
Elisha.
Yeah. Was that one of the miracles of the living day?
I think you're right.
Spoilers. Spoiler
alert. But anyway,
If you read the Bible, you know
that
anyway,
thing,
but-
like him seeing like the spiritual realm of everything.
And I'm wondering if that's what Elisha sees all the time.
Like, do the prophet? Is that what
He
the
didn't have to
prophet is
open
like?
his own eyes. He just had to open.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah, like that's
It's
what he sees.
What if prophets, you know how the Bible says you can entertain angels unawares?
Yes.
What if prophets know they're awares? What if they're
Well, okay. Abraham and the
It's
two
so
men.
cool. Yeah.
Abraham with the two men that talked to him.
Uh-huh.
At first, it was like they're just two regular men that are walking up to him. They were men in men form,
Clothed in flesh.
clothed, and I mean,
Jesus
and
didn't
but
really know it's him when
then Abraham knew who they were.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have known if it's just
I
like-
can't remember if it was Brother Rich or Brother Dean who used the word flesh suit. I think it was Brother Rich. No, I think it was Brother Rich. It was,
He was preaching about Lazarus.
It was
oh, it was like a
Brother
flesh suit. Okay, there's
Yeah.
Because he was talking about Jesus.
I hate that
But
word.
anyway,
Flesh suit.
So, as you can see, the miracles, they get more and more interesting.
There's a lot of things to discuss.
Yes, there really
Bill
is.
got through like 3 or 4
Oh,
in the
whoa.
40 minutes we
Yeah.
had.
So we hope you join us again next week as we continue to talk about Old Testament, New Testament miracles, and pray that you have a wonderful rest of your day.